In 2021, Bill Gates said all rich countries should move to 100% synthetic beef. Well, he just got one step closer to that utopian dream.
So obviously start with the internet. That's a good thing. So
DARPA invented the internet.
yes.
Madonna hosted one of the biggest concerts in the world in Brazil, hosting about 1.6 million people. During this concert, she performed 2 different satanic rituals along with many other questionable things.
Yes, sir. My trigger. Back up in this thing, man. Today, we'll be breaking down some creepy videos that'll make your jaw drop. Let's get it.
Madonna hosted one of the biggest concerts in the world in Brazil, hosting about 1.6 million people. During this concert, she performed 2 different satanic rituals along with many other questionable things. Now, before I show you more, keep in mind, after this concert, Brazil had one of their worst floods ever. I mean, we're talking some parts of this place were literally underwater. Now, I'm going to show you clips of the satanic rituals, but not much of the questionable stuff. Now, the first ritual she performs is her signing the cross as she is dressed up in a cloak and her hands are tied with a cross. There are 2 people holding incense, one in front of her and one behind her as she is escorted to the main stage. Now, I don't know if this guy is scared or happy, but there is some weird stuff going on at this concert. She is then sent off at the front while she signs the cross before she enters the big carousel that is on the stage. She is then held and praised by her dancers as she sings, rotating in front of the cross. The next ritual is something you have may seen on my profile before, as she has performed this many times. She recites different verses in the book of Revelation talking about the Antichrist and the mark of the beast. There's a skit around a ring of fire for a few minutes, but I'll just show you a small clip.
I've learned what some call the deep things of Satan, and a third beast rising out of the sea with 10 horns and 7 heads, and a blasphemous name upon its head. And the beast that I saw was like a leopard.
I know Madonna is a legend and her stuff is pretty edgy, but I would be concerned if I lived in a city where her tour is coming next, because whatever ritual she's performing might be conjuring biblical storms.
I'm about to share with you images I don't believe anybody has seen about the South Atlantic blob anomaly. I have a whole playlist on this now. I've showed you how the blob appears above Bouvet Island. I've showed you how satellite images have this area blocked out on one of the days the blob was appearing, and how if you go northwest there's a very strange, almost Yagi-Uda antenna pattern. But look at this. These were sent to me from someone who monitors NASA cloud images. Look at this shape coming from Bouvet Island. I'm just a lowly ham radio operator. Okay, I just took an interest in this and I'm sharing videos. What is this coming from Bouvet Island? It's consistent. Over years, we're talking years. I'm putting the dates. You guys tell me, did stuff happen around these dates? Look at this one. What? It's just, you guys tell me what you think of this. Please tell me there's a logical reason for this.
I don't know if this is what's causing the anomaly, but it looks like Hart must have set up a new facility on Bouvet Island. Why am I not surprised?
In 2021, Bill Gates said all rich countries should move to 100% synthetic beef. Well, he just got one step closer to that utopian dream. On June 21st, 2023, the USDA gave the first ever approval to 2 tech food startups, Upside Foods and Good Meat, to sell test tube chicken. It's actually cultivated in steel tanks, but you get the idea. Franken chicken sandwich, anyone? Live chicken cells are nourished in a broth of nutrients, and they do what stem cells do and create progeny all over the place. And then the masses of lab-grown chicken muscle are then shaped into familiar cutlets, boneless, no doubt, and sold retail. At least one of the companies is using genetic engineering to promote continuous growth of the cells. It's a little worrying that the proprietary processes used will not be likely open to scrutiny. With the mainstream media fawning all over them, they enthusiastically claim lab-grown meat will bring an end to the high environmental impact of the present meat industry. And then UC Davis research rained on their parade. They reported the impact of lab-grown meat is likely to be orders of magnitude higher than the real thing. Lots of consumers are apparently averse to their chicken having a steel vat for a mother. But not to worry, the USDA gave the industry $10 million of your money to address consumer acceptance. Now, I'm just wondering, should we be genetically modifying meat of animals that took hundreds of thousands of years to develop into a favorite menu item? Is it just me, or is that arrogance that's likely to end in tears?
Maybe Bill Gates should just switch his diet over to lab-grown meat since he's such a big proponent of it. Leave us out of it.
Mira bien esto. Miren bien con atención esto. Y esta no es la primera vez que yo veo una cosa igual. Yo he visto en otro lugar, en la televisión misma, unos personajes enseñando cómo son capaces de hacer que llueva. Suben así las nubes para el cielo y luego hacen que llueva, el propio ser humano. Los dueños de este mundo tienen ciegos, quieren que seamos libres. Algo asoma. Debe que es un capaces. El cielo nublado. Pero yo por las cosas, cuando químicos que están en este lugar, sabe Dios para qué lo hacen. Usted no sale en la televisión explicando esto, lo estamos haciendo para esto.
I don't think a normal factory produces this amount of smog. This looks like a cloud generator. Do not let Dubai see this or they're going to build 10 of them.
Amazing when you look at the history. So obviously start with the internet. That's a good thing. So
DARPA invented the internet.
yes, absolutely true.
Wow. Did DARPA invent GPS?
Sort of. So what we did is we actually got GPS into a small form factor. So that's what DARPA did. So the fact that you can have GPS in your cell phones or things like that was absolutely prompted by DARPA.
Okay, did you invent Siri?
Yes, Siri came out of my office.
But if you were to ask anybody in this country who invented Siri, they'd say Apple.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? I think we should ask Siri who invented Siri.
Okay.
Do you have your cell phone?
I do.
Well, let's see what she says.
All right, let's see. Siri, who invented you?
Like it says on the box, designed by Apple in California.
Design? Siri, what if I told you DARPA invented you? What would you say?
I think different.
Apple. They get all the credit. We
Great.
get none of the credit.
You know what? That's the best transition in the world.
It is? That's okay with DARPA.
Oh, yeah. Because Apple had a huge role in inventing Siri as well. It's not like I handed them a finished product. We handed them a bunch of technologies that were very useful, and it was their job to then take that.
Well, not useful, essential.
Yes, fair. Essential, but still, they put a huge amount of effort and research into it, and so together we make a product.
The fact that the government invented the internet and Siri gives me trust issues because, they're not giving away this technology for our benefit with no strings attached. They probably created it so they can keep better tabs on us.
What the? Oh my god. It's going the wrong way.
See, and this is why
Whoever the person is in the back seat is in for the ride of their life. This shouldn't even be possible.
I think for the next version of the glasses, one of the things that I'm pretty excited about, I think we'll start getting some consumer neural interfaces soon. I think that's going to be pretty wild. I'm not talking about something that jacks into your brain. I'm talking about something that you wear on your wrist that can basically read neural signals that your brain sends through your nerves to your hand to basically move it in different subtle ways that are maybe not perceptible to people around you. But we're basically able to read those signals and be able to use that to control your glasses or other computing devices. And I think that's going to be pretty wild. And, we're obviously still at the beginning of that journey because we haven't rolled out the first version of the product, but, playing with it internally, it's really cool.
I'm confused because in the same breath, he says they're not designing a device that will attach to your brain, but just describe something that will read your brain impulses anyway. That doesn't make it any better.
tava nublado. Mano. É a sombra? Que isso? Ué, o sol tá ali. Mas não tem sombra ligando a nada, velho. O sol tá ali. Ué. Não, vamos chegar mais perto pra ver o que é aquilo. Pega esse galho pra tacar lá. É da casa, será? Não tem nada ligando. Não tem nada ligando nos pés. Será que não é um homem, não? Não tem? Algum físico explica aí?
This might actually be a cloaked UFO because none of those clouds even look thick enough to cast a shadow like this. So much for a relaxing beach day.
Here is a picture straight from the Library of Congress presented as a historical photo of New York City. And this is where we get into the so-called vanilla skies. This is classified as a negative, a glass plate negative, which means that this photo was taken straight from the camera, and that's how it was. At first glance of this photo, obviously this thing down here looks a little weird, but everything else seems normal. Right here, when we zoom in, this is a painted car. What the f? That's like a cartoon drawing. And over here, we got people that are blatantly like painted in, right? Like this is painted. You know what I mean?
Those are paint strokes. There's like no denying that.
Now look at this. When we get up here, this is all painted here. This is a building here in the original photo, right? This is all painted in. So people are saying like, what are they actually trying to hide by painting over these things? Because this right here, like this from here up is all like, you know, fake, except for these right here. These are real buildings. You could tell. But what was here that they needed to paint and cover? Even in the Library of Congress, it doesn't say that, hey, it's a retouched photo. It's presented as a glass plate negative.
The Library of Congress might end up being the best source to prove that the mud flood was actually real if they keep posting pictures like this. At least use Photoshop, not the finger paint.
Okay, so this is part 2 of exposing grocery stores. So as I showed y'all before, what we do is called reworking. So we taking out the moldy stuff in here, throwing it away, and then putting it and saving some of it in here, or it go back on the floor. So, you know, you have stuff like this, nasty, moldy, throw it away, and then the rest, sometimes we put it on the floor, or we put it in this, and this becomes this. Cut up, sold for way more money. Same with the blueberries. We go through the blueberries. It's bad. This is no good. We go through it, take it out, throw it away, put it back on the floor for y'all to eat.
I get not wasting food, but the part that gets me is that they resell it for more money. They should be giving it away for free.
Wow. Everything is being exposed so far in 2024, and I think the best is still yet to come. Now the Vatican preparing guidelines for aspirations of other supernatural phenomena. Come on now. Let me know your thought in the comment section.
I thought the Vatican was always ready for this. What are these mysterious preparations? Is the Pope working on his holy water sprinkle or something?
That 5 times in the past, every tree on Earth stopped growing. They stopped the Bristol cone pines in California. Their rings narrowed almost nothing for years. At the same time, the trees in Scandinavia did.
How old are these trees again?
World.
How old are these trees again?
It would have been 40. Yeah, there you go. Steve, man. You put Jamie to shame, man. Look at that. Bailey noticed indications of severe environmental downturns around 2354, 1628. See how close that is to 1700? 1159, 208, and AD 540, every tree on Earth stopped growing. Now, you tell me what causes that.
My best guess is that maybe there was some sort of event or volcanic eruption that blocked out the sun during those times, or there was something wrong with the air quality. Can somebody please let me know what this is in the comments? Because I've never seen a black cat with mice ears. It's like Garfield had a sneaky link with Minnie Mouse or something.
The purpose of the prohibition is so much more different than
what we were told.
At the time, people were using alcohol to fuel their cars and their homes. So they were using it as energy. And they were creating their own alcohols. It was a common practice to collect all your food scraps and ferment them in your home. And it was a completely renewable and easily attainable form of energy. And then they just banned it. They said you can't make it, you can have it in your house. And they said it burns so cleanly, we wouldn't have any of the harmful environmental effects that we have today if we had continued this practice.
I've never heard that in my entire life.
Isn't that crazy?
Pour a little bit of moonshine in there. What was that? That's wild.
Think about it. What we truly know is that the elites that were making those decisions were still drinking.
Yeah.
They were still drinking during the Prohibition.
Now the Prohibition makes a lot more sense because it's always about money at the end of the day. J.D. Rockefeller probably got upset because people weren't depending on oil as much. He called the president and got it banned.
Evo, ovako to izgleda jutros i kod nas. Evo. Bandit kruži. Što sad proizvode? Kako nevreme? Kakve divlje minuse? Užas.
I'm sure this pilot is dizzy after all of this, both from the chemicals and the loop-de-loops.
Did you know Prince Charles is the direct descendant of Vlad the Impaler? Vlad was the inspiration for our modern-day Dracula because, wait for it, he would create forests of thousands of impaled, defeated enemies and sit in the middle of them and eat them. Take note of that castle in the background.
The genealogy shows that I'm descended from Vlad the Impaler, you see. I do have a bit of a stake in the country.
Now, Charles actually spends most of the year living in that exact castle in Transylvania with orphans from the Royal Family Foundation. You can't make this stuff up, folks.
We all have some crazy people in our family lineage, but being a direct descendant of the real Dracula takes the cake. Let's just hope that the impaling gene keeps skipping generations.
Hey y'all gotta check this video. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen. So around this time every single day, this lady records this messages across her building that the sun projects every single day. This is in St. Louis, Missouri, y'all. Check this out, y'all. Check it out.
Okay. So I don't know if you guys see this, but every day at this time, when the sun sits in a certain spot, this appears on the building across from me. See how it just went away and then it goes away? It's like, is it Hebrew? Somebody told me something. Did you see that? There, up.
It looks like runes. Y'all see that? Y'all ever seen runes? It looks like runes. But now let me ask you a question. Isn't that the sun back here?
Anybody?
Wait, wasn't that the sun back here, y'all? Doesn't that look like the sun? How is it reflecting on this building? What is this, y'all? How is that possible?
Maybe the sun is reflecting off of one building onto the other to make it look like some sort of ancient text. That's the only logical explanation I can think of.
Have you ever heard that old story that Eisenhower made a deal with the aliens to abduct people from the national parks in the United States, and that's why we have all these suspicious disappearances from the national parks? I have too, and I kind of believe it, because look, it looks like national parks tend to be a UFO hotspot for the past 23 years. Why is that? But I'm not done. And then when you lay the missing people in national parks map on top of the UFO sighting map, it just becomes so much more clear, right? And then to top it all off, when people go missing under suspicious circumstances in the national park, a lot of times they leave behind no physical evidence, not even a trail for the dog to pick up on. And then if they are found, many are found with no shoes and no socks, but clean feet. And again, if they are found, they are usually found 10 to hundreds of miles away from where they started or where they went missing from. And if they're alive, they have no memory of how they got there or what happened to them. A perfect example of this really scary phenomenon is baby Jared. He went missing when he was 3 years old from a national park while he was on a hike with his church group. This is what was found of him 4 years later. No body, nothing else, just this. His shoes look like they're still in perfect condition. His hoodie and his pants were turned inside out, and you can see that wildlife had taken stuff off of his pants. There's two schools of thought on baby Jared, abduction or mountain lion. What do you think?
Maybe the government knows something about these locations, which is why they turned them into national parks in the first place, but I feel terrible for baby Jared. It looks like he went through the ringer that day.
Oh, there, yeah, it sees you right in front of the car. Doing your dance, walking around, coming around.
Okay, so it knows when there's people. So the question is, what is that?
Oh, is that a horse?
Horse ghost?
There's a horse ghost. Can we get closer to the horse ghost? Yeah.
A dog? What is...
Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
I've never seen animals before.
To all the critics that think it's fake, like, yo, there's no big tombs, there's no, like...
There was nothing that looked like a horse.
The best feature on a Tesla might just be its ability to detect paranormal activity. That looked like the Headless Horseman.
In Washington, D.C., there are 23 major zodiacs in that city, more than any other city in the world. One other thing you're going to love, I don't think it's not on this map. In the earliest plat of Washington, D.C., all the lots are numbered, except one. You get up to 665, and then it jumps to 667, 668. So what's missing? 666, 666. And guess what sits on that lot today? The capital of the United States. Now, it's accepted by historians that the French Revolution was fomented by the Illuminati. George Washington, big Masonic. So they're passing along the ancient mysteries through Freemasonry. By the way, if you think that the Illuminati is just something you can laugh at and just some kind of boogaboo, here's a letter in 1782 from George Washington where he said, "It was not my intention to doubt that the doctrines of the Illuminati had not spread to the United States. On the contrary, no one is more fully satisfied of that fact than I am." These guys knew more about what was going on than we do today with all our modern technology and all our electronic communications.
I thought the pentagram was the only symbol in Washington, D.C.'s layout, but that looked like every occult symbol known to man. George Washington was a super Mason.
I can imagine this future in which, if you want, you have a personalized AI that knows, that has read every email, every text, every message you've ever sent or received, has an access to a full recording of your life, knows every document you've ever looked at, every TV show you've ever read, everything you've ever said or heard or seen, like all of your bits of input in and out. And you can imagine that that would be a super helpful thing to have. You can also imagine the privacy concerns that that would present. And I think if we stick on that frame and not say, well, should AI be able to train on this data or that data, but how are we going to navigate the privacy versus utility versus safety trade-offs or security trade-offs that come with that? And what does it even mean? Do we need a new definition of privileged information so that your AI companion never has to testify against you or can't be subpoenaed by a court? I don't even know what the problems are going to be.
I hope they don't get any ideas from this, because if ChatGPT takes the stand, you lose in that case.
We tend to establish the equivalence with cash, and there is a huge difference there. For example, in cash, we don't know, for example, who's using a $100 bill today. We don't know who is using a 1,000 peso bill today. A key difference with the CBDC is that central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations that will determine the use of that expression of central bank liability. And also, we will have the technology to enforce that. Those two issues are extremely important, and that makes a huge difference with respect to what cash is.
Of course, the general manager of a central bank wants CBDC so they can track all our purchases, but I guarantee we'll never see what he spends his money on.
Today, showing houses, and in 20 years in the industry of going in houses of all types, I've never seen anything like this. 6-foot gates, deadbolts, drawing on the wall in the back, so you know it wasn't a dog back there. Air conditioning. Are you serious?
This actually might be an animal kennel because the bars don't go all the way up to the ceiling and somebody could easily just climb out. If not, this is John Wayne Gacy's old shit.
So you probably thought this was only something from the movies. Well, if that's what you thought, check out this interview.
I was chief of disguise.
What all did that entail?
The office I worked in was like the Q in James Bond. We were the Q for the CIA and the intelligence community. So there were different parts of it. Whatever you needed, if you needed a bug, if you needed secret writing or a microdot or a concealment device or whatever you needed, you had to come to us and we'll put something together for you. One that has to stand out. I went to the White House and I briefed George H.W. Bush, the president at the time, while I was wearing a full face mask. So we're sitting like this close together and I'm telling him that I'm going to show him the best disguise that we have. And he's looking for a bag, like, where is it? I said, well, I'm wearing it and I'm going to take it off. And I reached to start taking it off and he said, stop. And he got up and he walked and he looked at it. He didn't know it was a mask. He wasn't sure what I was wearing. He sat back down. He said, okay. So I took it off and I was holding it up in the air so he could see it. My whole head. It had hair and a face and a neck.
So you could walk around as someone else?
Absolutely.
And that would be the disguise?
Absolutely.
So it kind of makes you wonder when you see pictures like this or video like this. What do you guys think?
If this is true, then they need to fire whoever made the Joe Biden mask because it's a little too loose around the neck.
Overhead bins on planes are for carry-ons, of course.
They're not for passengers, but this woman was spotted inside one on a Southwest flight from Albuquerque. She was found by a flight attendant before the plane took off for Phoenix. A lot to unpack here.
She might have just discovered the ultimate travel hack because I'm sure she has a lot more leg room sitting in an overhead compartment than sitting down in one of those tiny chairs. But that was the video, guys. Don't forget to sub up, hit that notification bell, and I'll catch you in the next one.